This is my midterm practicals, and I'll be starting with question 1I, which says that declare a 6 different constant variables and show to assign different values to them. So let's start with the structure for a C++ program. So I begin my program by including the iOS stream header file. This is the library that provides the input and output stream objects such as the cout or the cin, which allows me to display information on the screen and receive input from the user. Next, I write using namespace std so that I can use the standard library object like cout, cin, and string without having to type this all the time, without having to type std this all the time. So I use that so that I just have to say cout. After that, I start the program with the int main function, which is the entry point of every C++ program and where the execution begins. So inside the main function, that is where we would declare the six constant variables using 6 different data types. And then this curly braces here ensures that the group of statements are executed in a single block. And then the return 0 also ensures that the execution is successful. It should return something. So the keyword here we are using today is const, because it makes each variable a constant, meaning its value cannot be modified or changed after it has been initialized. So without much ado, I think we'll start, which is const int, and I'm going to give it a name age, and I would initialize it to be 20, and then I bring my semicolon. Then the next one I'll be doing is const float. Why am I using float? Because it should have a float should have a decimal number with single precision. So height, I am giving it a 6.1, then my semicolon. Then the next data type I use is a double. Why am I using a double? I am using a double because it has the higher precision decimal values. So let's just say double precision. And I'll give it pi, which hypothetically, let me say 14159. Let me stop here. And then the next one I use is a character. And then I give it a name grade. So a character, because they are used for single characters. So single characters with single quotes. So a grade A, for instance. Then my semicolon. Then const bool. Bool is used for a true or false value. So let me use is crying, and then I would assign it a true statement and then a true value. Then the next one I use is a string. Strings are used for text. So string name, then I assign it with double quotation, then I type my name in there. So this is it. I am done for question 1I. So the next thing I'll be moving on to is the question 2II, which says that declare and initialize 6 integer variables using a valid variable name and a valid value. Then write a decision logic to determine if each of them is greater than or equal to 25. Display number is greater if condition is satisfied. Display number is the same if they are the same. Otherwise, display number is lesser. So we get right into it. So first I need to comment here that question 1, my parenthesis, question 1, II. So then I move on to my next line, and I would also like to comment that declaring 6 integer variables. Why do we even use comments in the first place? So comment helps the programmer to understand the code he or she is writing. So I use int main because it is a whole number we are comparing, and I give it a name. So int num1 should be equal to, let's say, 20, then my semicolon, then int num2 should be equal to 25, semicolon, int num3 should be equal to 34, semicolon, int num4 should be equal to 45, semicolon, int num5 should be equal to 54, semicolon, int num6 should be equal to 16, then semicolon. Now the other part of the question asks us to derive a decision logic. So the decision logic I am using here. So let me comment. Decision logic. So I want to use the if else statement. I want to use the if else if statement. So that is what I am going to use here. So the if statement, it checks whether the value is greater than 25. If the condition is true, the program displays number is greater. If the condition is false, the else if statement checks the value if it is exactly equal to 25. If the program displays, if it is, the program will display the number is the same. If neither of these conditions is true, the else statement executes and displays number is lesser, indicating that the value is less than 25. This decision structure ensures that every integer variable is correctly classified based on the relationship to the value. So I declared my integer variables here int num1, and then I initialized it with a 20. I initialized it with 20. So initializing means I am assigning a value to the variable at the time it is declared. So I want to get right into my if else statement. So if, then I bring my parenthesis. If num1 if num1 is greater than 25, then I bring out my curly braces. If num1 is greater than 25, I wanted to see out I bring my double quotation. I wanted to see out number is greater. Mistake. Number is greater. Then I end line. So I come to the next. Else if. So what I did right here, the if statement checks whether num1 is greater than 25. If the condition evaluates to true, the code inside the if block, so the code inside the if block is executed. So if it is not true, we use the else statement. So the else if statement. Else if so I use the if else statement after I've see out number is greater. The else if statement, I need to also check if it is equal to 25. If it is equal to 25, I see out number is same. Else I need to see out number is lesser. Then I end line. Now this is just for the first number, the first variable, which is int num1. I need to execute this if else statement 6 times so that it checks all the numbers I have in there. So since I already have this, there's no need for me to rewrite everything again. So I just have to copy this whole if else statement, then I paste it again. So Ctrl plus V to paste it. Then all I have to do is to change the 1 here to 2. Then I change this to 2. Then I also do that same thing to the rest of it. So since all of the numbers are, since I am printing 6 things at a time and they are all going to be together, so I output this again, change the number to 3, change this also to 3, then I do same till I get to to 6, then I stop. So this will be 4, 4, then I do it again, Ctrl plus V, then I change this to 5, I change this to 5? So I'm left with the last one. So this is it. 6. Then I change this 1 to 6. So now I am done with this. So what we have to do is to try and execute the program and see if it would work. So let's run the program. Oops, there's a problem. Something is wrong. Okay, I've seen where the problem is. My cout, my operand is changing bits. So I'm supposed to use this. So we correct all of that. All of this. I didn't see that. So yep, all of this. Correcting all of this. Let's check if it would still run after correction. I'm almost done here. So this is done. Let's run it and see if it will work. So it worked. It gave us number is lesser, number is the same, number is greater, number is greater, number is greater, number is lesser. So my code did work. Thank you and bye.